people and for children so that you can see the difference. It's colorful, like a child's drawings. It's not, it's like very bright red, blue colors. What they did with this deck, they also color coordinated them. The major arcanas, which in this particular deck are called keys. The key cards, the major arcanas, are colored with purple borders. The red would be for the ones, the fire element. So instead of calling the suits like the Raider Waits and other decks do by wands, pentacles, cups, and swords, they call them by their element. So they call, for the cups, it's water. And, of course, the water on all the water cards are blue. For the pentacles, it's the earth, for the earth element, and the border is green. Yellow is for air, which is the swords. Red for the fire, for the wands. So it's color coordinated by the borders, which when you're doing a show or discussing and you don't have them in order, it's easier to pick out a specific card too, because if you're looking for one of the majors, it's the purple border. You can bypass all the other cards with the other color borders on them. It's very kid friendly. It doesn't have all of the esoterical things. Some people take offense to the pentacles, offense to all different kinds of things, subtle nudity, the more violent depictions, the devil, the tower. Another one people don't like is the death card. And what they did, I pulled out four majors so that you can just see. I started with the four, which in the Raider, this is the Raider Waite. The four is 0, and it's about, it's a 0 for those that aren't familiar with tarot. It's beginnings and it's endings. Everything goes in a circle. And for the Today's Journey deck, they call it beginnings, and it's with the 0, and it's a young lady with a cat, and she's laying out her own cards, doing a reading for herself, or maybe somebody's there, but appears that it's for herself. Maybe she's reading for the cat, who knows. And it's in her bedroom, so she's probably doing it by herself. Maybe, having to hide the fact that she has to do it. But you can see the difference, the complete difference in the brightness of the cards. With one of the other ones, we'll go in order. The Hanged Man. This is the Hanged Man upright. This is the Hangman in reverse, self-sacrificing, being a doormat. Also, time of rest, contemplating, because you realize that, things need to be changed, and you're being this way, and you have to readjust and start focusing on yourself. And so, with the Hanged Man, they're doing that. For the Hanged Man in this deck, they call it choice. And it's depicted as if you're the driver of the car. And you might think, okay, it's a highway, there's the exit, that this is a fast-moving car right away, and you might think of speed, but if you notice, stopped. So, and you have the choice to make, have to turn off or go straight. Maybe the person that pulls this card is in the middle of a choice and they don't know which way to go. Maybe they had their mind made up and they're pausing now, changing their mind. Last minute cold feet, as they say, for wedding jitters and things like that. And that's how they did this card. So, very, very friendly for children. The death card is this one in the Rider-Waite. It's usually always, the horse, a body, some sunrise or sunset sometimes in the background. And the death card is not about a physical death. It's about something having come to a complete end, so that your new opportunity and beginnings can occur and getting a new direction going. So in today's journey, they call it transition. And it's another highway. It's up in the sky, a bridge over clouds instead of water, looking down. The land's on the other side of the bridge. And this is depicting the meaning of the death card that I just discussed. You're transitioning into, maybe you just moved. You're making the transition from one home to another, completely different neighborhood, maybe even having to get a new job, transitioning from being single to being married, from a different perspective, seeing things from a different perspective, up in the sky, cloudy. Not sure how this transition necessarily is going to play out, but a good interpretation for the death card. Another card that people see it, they go, oh, I don't like that, is the Tower card. And the Tower card is similar to the death card, but this is just, complete chaos happening at the moment. You feel like there's just nothing going right in your life. Everything's going wrong that possibly can, but we are always in the midst of it, and we forget any little positives to throw out there and look at. And ironically, because of what I was discussing opening the show, in this case, the tarot card, they titled Intervention. Lots of times when we have so much chaos going on around us, we need some kind of intervention, whether it's self-intervention, taking a time out to refocus everything, or we need outside intervention and help and guidance from others. In this particular case, similar to the Tower card, they're escaping their home. They're out on the lawn, family. The mom has a little dog in her arms, and the father is holding an infant in his arms, and they're running. And it doesn't necessarily look like a fire like the Tower tends to depict. It looks more like a fallen tree. Had a storm, tornado, hurricane, and a tree has fallen, and they're just running to get out. So intervention, they need some help. They're going to need a place to stay for a while. They're going to need help with the repairs if the tree actually landed on their property and destroyed any of it. Or at the very least, they're going to need somebody to trim down the tree and probably put the wires in all back up for their power and phone and electric. So this deck was, I don't know that it was not done with the intent in mind for it to be done with children, but when this deck was done, it was done to depict everyday life and make everyday life situations more readable when you're with a client that knows nothing about the tarot, maybe even never had seen a tarot deck before. They can relate better to the images in this deck. The Two of Water or the Two of Cups. Again, water element, so it's the blue border. There is nothing in this deck that would be threatening in any way for a child. The court cards have even been changed, and the court cards were changed actually symbolizing the example that I always give when I'm trying to get people to understand court cards, because those are the hardest cards in the deck to learn for the majority of people, just because it's just the person sitting or standing, no real imagery in them, and it deals mainly, for the most part, personality traits and things like that, and people tend to have a very hard time learning the court cards. And the first thing that I tell them is I refer it and tell them, think of a household. The order of the court cards is page, knight, queen, king. Think of a household, think of the newborn, the infant, toddler. For the page, for the knight, think of the teenager, the young adult, and of course the queen and the king for mom and dad. So in this deck, they are actually called the queen and king, mother and father. And for the page and knight, they call them child and youth. So they did different kind of more friendly imagery in the pictures. He has pulled away from a lot of the symbolisms that threaten people, that make people say it's evil and of the devil, and they incorporated it into real life, and at the same time made it a child-friendly deck, and just a variety of, getting away from a standard deck for those that do readings already and are always looking for something different in a deck, something unique. This deck fits that bill as well. And you would, do readings with it the same way that you would with the Rider-Waite's or any of the other ones out there. I got Father of Air. So the border is yellow for the air. So this would be the King of Swords. Swords being the air element. And in this particular case, instead of him sitting in a throne like the King of Swords does, he's piloting a plane. He's behind the control panel. He has the earpiece, his uniform. He's an airline pilot in this case. So again, if there was a deck that, especially if you're talking younger age children wanting to learn the deck, this would be a very good deck to have them start off with, because they're not going to lose the general meaning. And as they go through this one and things going on with everyday life. For instance, another major, in this case, a key card, guidance, a library, looking up and doing research. Kids can relate to it. Lots of things kids can relate to with this deck. 10 of water, playing in a swimming pool. There's another one in here that I'm not going to find right away, but here's one, completion. And classroom teacher up at the board. So it's everyday situations. There's a few that, they might have a problem with, such as all the ones. The one of Earth, which would be the Ace of Pentacles, is just a picture of the Earth from outer space. That might puzzle them. Okay, what do you do with that? The Ace of Wands, the fire. Those are the only ones, and of course the other two that I can't find at the moment, that might give them a little bit of a, okay, what's that? Here's one. Roller coaster, life, the ups and downs, the circles of the roller coaster, the ups and downs of life that we go through, and sometimes we feel like we're spinning our wheels and going in circles and, chasing our tail and getting nowhere, and that's all depicted right here in the life card with the roller coaster. They've got the big hills, they've got the twists and the turns. The one that I did find interesting, that I just came across how they depicted it, was Mother of Earth, which would be the Queen of Pentacles. So the border is green for the earth element of the Pentacles, and it's a baby doll. It's actually a teddy bear she's feeding a bottle to, on the floor in a bare room. That one, when I had seen it, was one that I paused and said, okay, that's interesting. There seems to be a window, but it looks like sheets or something is across it, because you just have up at the very top crack, and across it, if you can see it on here, like the railroad bars when you're at a railroad crossing at the street and having to stop. That was one of the cards that I paused at when I was going through them. Of course, meditation, they're using yoga. So if you're looking for a kid-friendly deck, this would be one of them. Here's one. Kind of reminds you of, wood shop in high school that the boys might take, or some girls even take. And laid out, and instead of wood is gemstones and all the tools and gadgets. Out eating at a little counter type restaurant. Father of fire. Father, somebody, gets things done. It's all red, including in the card, not just the border. He's on the phone, very active, very busy, but he seems to be possibly at home instead of an office, even though he's in a suit. He's not even sitting at a desk. It looks more like a sofa, the way it's designed on here. So no threat. I was not able to pinpoint any cards that would be really threatening, other than the ones that I showed you would just go, oh, okay, what's that for somebody learning? The only one that I would say, and it's not threatening, it's goofy and silly. And this is called discernment. That's the scariest card, if you want to call it scary. Its costume looks like walking like a tightrope or a balance beam. Looks like a thick rope with the weaves going through it. Kind of like a circus thing, but being a bird with the claw-like feet, even besides the wings. So again, if you're looking for a child type deck, maybe your child once has built some interest in learning the tarot, you're leery of it for whatever reason, maybe, you think that Rider-Waite decks and things like that too in-depth, too detailed, too much. Again, it's by Schiffer, and it is Today's Journey Tarot. I didn't show you the back. This is the back of the cards. So if you're going to read upright or reversed, it's unified either way, so you wouldn't be able to tell when it's upside down and pulling it. And it comes with, it's a little book. The back of the cover of the book is what's on the back of the card. There's a short write-up for each of the cards, along with giving 2 or 3 keywords for each to get you started or to confirm what you're feeling, you're getting from each of the cards. Then in the back, they give 1 7-card spread, the Merkaba spread, which is what the symbol is. That's on the back of the card. They have the depict layout, how to lay out the cards, and the 1-page explanation about the spread and what the position meanings are on this page. That was designed specifically to go with this deck. So that's the only spread example that they give in this particular book. And it's, the cycles of life, and they conclude it with, from beginning to completion, another cycle in today's journey has passed. May this deck be your companion through the cycles to come and your guide to expanding dimensions. Christopher, he is actually the creator of the deck. I did not read this prior. I would have looked it up. I'm going to look for it now. He actually has his self-portrait in the 3 of Earth card. It says he has a BA in studio art and an associate of applied science in computer graphic design. He first encountered tarot as a child in a book from his family's library, and it dealt with the psychic and the esoteric phenomena. And he's from Kentucky. Which was that? It was the 3 of Earth. So it's one of the green cards. Makes it easier. I don't have to sit here like I did with the Rider-Waite. I can just find the green cards, and it was the very first green one. So he put himself in this card, actually. And it looks like he's at an art exhibit, and it's his own artwork. If you read the top of the wall above, art by Chris Wilkie. And yes, if you go through, actually look at it, it's some of the cards from this deck that's up on the wall. And then this is the back of the deck. So that is pretty neat. I did not pick up on that. That went right past me. I saw art and did not pay attention to what was after it, that it was by him. So that one I missed until I just read that to you from the book. So any interest, or if you've been reading for a while and you want something a little bit different out of the norm to try, or maybe you're going to be at a party that maybe there'll be a lot of children, things like that, certain situations, you might want a more friendlier deck, this would be a good pick. So I wanted to get that one out tonight, because I get asked a lot about, from, like I said, all aspects, reading for kids, or, kids starting out, how to get them to start out, where to go, all kinds of questions related to the kids. So this would be this would be my first pick and suggestion with that. As far as kids getting readings, that's something that has to be each individual reader's personal choice, what they're comfortable with doing. Also, you have to see if whatever area you're in, is there some kind of a law about being allowed to read for anybody under a certain age. The different laws and things change. Here, found out years and years ago that we have something back, I guess, from the witch hunt days, not allowed to tell fortunes, not allowed to touch. In other words, I guess if you're going to go get your palm read, the person's not allowed to touch your hand, which after I had found that out, I thought, okay, I looked back on whenever I had a palm reading. For the most part, I can't recall when I was getting it done here where anybody actually did touch the hand. They have you put the hands out and they direct you to tilt it a little more or turn it, whatever, to give them a better view. And I never paid attention to that until I ran across that and had been told that and looked it up, and there it was. And they put it in with horse racing rules, actually. Horse racing and gambling, they snuck in the fortune-telling bit in the rules from whenever, I guess, the witch hunt days. I've had palm readings done, on vacation and things like that, out of state, down the Jersey Shore and things, and I know for a fact they'll, hold your hand, if you're having a palm reading done, they'll have you put your hand on top of theirs. Here, that isn't done. So, all along, there's been a reason for it. Do you have anything like that where you're at, Eric? Or
no, I don't think there's any laws like that there.
No?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, it's pretty strange, I thought, but
well, that's why
pretty interesting when I looked back and realized nobody does touch. Even if fairs and things where they might have a couple set up. And they're doing the palm reading. There's the no touching going on. They maybe have them place their hand on a table or something to keep it still, but they're not holding the client's hand.
You might want to mention that disclaimer that a lot of websites use too about for entertainment purposes only.
It has to state for entertainment purposes only. So what I did with that was in my code of ethics, the fine print down at the bottom, as long as it's on there, it's fine. So I made it as small as possible and still be able to read it. Since I discussed in my code of ethics about we all have free will, and you have the free will to make whatever decisions you want with anything in your life, including the reading, I put in the disclaimer that we all have free will, therefore we all can believe as we wish. However, the law is requiring me to tell you that this is for entertainment purposes only, but use your free will to take it how you want. So I played around with it to have it on there and, just get a little goofy with it. And yeah, a lot of people on the internet sites, the 800 numbers and things like that, will wonder, why for entertainment purposes only? Because the laws, what you can and can't do, change depending on where you are located. A friend of mine, it's been ages since I spoke with him, but a good friend of mine in New York, he did a tarot book, and I had him on, and he's a riot. He is required there as well to do the entertainment purposes only disclaimer. And his view on that is when a priest and the pastors have to put for entertainment purposes only on their front door of the church, he will do so with what he does, because his philosophy on that is they're up there saying they've turned the wine into blood, and it's the blood of Christ, and the bread's the body of Christ, and everybody knows it's not. So he goes on his rant comparing it to the churches, and that they don't have to do that. I haven't been able to get a hold of him with his schedule to have him on, but he did a fantastic book a few years ago. He self-published it, and I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, what it is, because I was focusing on tarot decks tonight and not books. So, reading for children, one thing that I will say is, if you're talking on the younger side, age-wise, you want to make sure that you have permission of the parent. Because you don't want to have, an upsetting scenario that somebody comes back at you later for having read their child. So you want to make sure that, there is an adult that has given permission to have it done. Um, Teaching kids to read the cards. If you use this deck, Today's Journey, there really isn't a whole lot of, teaching to be done with them. The elements, since they call them by the card, the suits by the elements, instead of the symbols of pentacles, they are not going to have to memorize or remember. Pentacles is earth, cups is water. Water's blue, so it's blue water. Cups doesn't even play a part in it. They have water depicted in somewhere in the backgrounds, so you don't even have to mention or bring up, the actual symbols of them, because it's dealing strictly with the elements. Here's the Ten of Air. I love this card. It's all in yellow, with some butterflies around. They have even the grass being more yellow than green. Kind of on a street, kind of some bricks there messed up for the card. The roadway, there's a farmhouse in the background, and kids can come up with daily, everyday scenarios. The Mother of Water, which would be the Queen of Cups. She's at her window looking out at the rain that's falling. Maybe snow. She's drinking something hot, some hot tea, hot cocoa. A child might see that and think of, Christmas time, or, a day off from school. Think of a snowstorm rather than a rainstorm, even though it's the water element. Snow is frozen water after all. So there's a whole, so a lot of everyday life that they can relate to. Two of Fire, opening their own business, the ribbon cutting. Finally launching and starting what you had, planned on doing and organized and thought through. It's the grand opening and following through with it. Eight of Water is an artist, painter. Nine of Air, the bills in the mail. You may see that and think, oh, that's, my mom. I see that face when the mail comes and she's sitting there, paying the bills at the kitchen table, empty coffee cup and the mail spread out. Creativity for one of the key cards. Girl decorating her room, putting up a border on the walls. Redesigning things. So there's not going, it's again with this deck and working with a child, learning it, it's going to be what comes to them when they look at the card and see it. You don't have to go with any standard meanings. They have in the book, like I showed you, for each card, 2 or 3 keywords that, will go with what they come up with on their own. For the Karma card, the keywords is cause and effect and justice. So they don't have to know any of the astrological signs and, anything with numerology with this, and if they have not learned their Roman numerals, speaking of numbers and numerology, these cards do not have the Roman numerals. They have it spelled out at the bottom, what it is, or for the majors, for the key cards, the number is numerical instead of in Roman numerals. So if it's a child that has not learned their Roman numerals or had a problem learning their Roman numerals, that's not even an issue with this deck. It is not used. It's spelled out, so they do have to be old enough to read. If they want to connect the card, to the actual things that they pick up on it, there's no number on the quick cards or the pip cards, just on the key cards. So with that, you're going to make your own decision with reading for children. Children have issues. Surprising, people say, oh, what issues could a child have? They get up, they go to school, they do their homework, they see their friends, they do something wrong, they get punished, and, that's their little life. But there's many I've read for children, and they get in quandaries just like we do. And sometimes, they don't even want their mom or dad to know that they're worried about something because they don't want to worry their mom and dad about it. Just even the transition of going to a new school, they get worried and upset about because, they don't have their friends with them anymore at the new place. Everything's new. They don't know the teachers. They don't know where they're going, where the classrooms are, what their schedule is going to be. It's a whole new everything. So kids do have issues as well. Just because they're, around a child doesn't make it any less traumatic. It's their current issue at that time, just like we all get our current issues at the time and at the moment we're going through it. It's upsetting and sometimes traumatic for us. It's the same thing no matter how old you are, young or old, or in between. With that, we're going to say goodnight until next week. If you want to get a hold of me, you can get me at my website, tarotbymisha.com. And you can find me on Facebook. You can find it's in the cards on Facebook. Keep up to date with the shows. I do now have an office that I am at. I'm there by appointment only. So if you're in my area or the half-hour area where it's located and you would like to do a face-to-face reading instead of a phone reading, I am still running the grand opening special to welcome you and get you on in. And with that, what I am doing is get a half-hour reading paid for, and it'll be an hour in-person reading. So an hour reading for $50, and we'll set up the appointment and be able to meet with you at the office and do it face-to-face so that you don't have to wait around till I'm at one of my events live to get it done. Because I know there's quite a few of you that really don't prefer over the phone because you do want to be there with the cards, interacting and outright seeing what's going on and the depictions in them, and you want to pull them for yourself. So that will give you the opportunity to do so. With that, everybody stay well, and I'll see you next week. Good night.